The rain was relentless that Tuesday, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I am Anselm, 46, an IT specialist in Seattle, and my life had been meticulously organized, almost predictable for the past 15 years. My wife Meredith was a successful real estate agent, and we had a comfortable life in a quiet suburb, or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Meredith began working later, claiming the market was booming and clients demanded more of her time. I understood. I often pulled late nights myself debugging code. But then came the changes in her demeanor. The warmth in her eyes seemed to dim, replaced by a distant, almost guarded look. She became less affectionate, less interested in our conversations, our shared moments. The easy laughter that used to fill our home was replaced by an unsettling silence. I tried to talk to her to bridge the growing gap. "Is everything okay, Meredith?" I'd ask, reaching for her hand. She'd pull away, subtly but deliberately. "Of course, Anselm, just stressed with work," she'd reply, her voice tight, her eyes avoiding mine. I wanted to believe her desperately. I loved her, and the thought of anything being wrong terrified me. Then came the phone calls. Late at night, muffled voices, hushed tones. Meredith would rush out of the room, claiming it was a client, speaking in hurried whispers. When I asked about it later, she'd brush it off, saying it was confidential, a sensitive deal. I felt a knot of unease tightening in my stomach, a cold dread creeping into my heart. One evening, while Meredith was supposedly at a networking event, I decided to surprise her with dinner. I knew the hotel where the event was being held, a swanky place downtown. I imagined us laughing, reconnecting, maybe even rekindling the spark that seemed to have faded. But as I walked into the hotel lobby, I saw her. She wasn't with a group of colleagues, no name tag, no business cards in sight. She was with a man, a younger man, his arm draped possessively around her waist. They were laughing, their faces close, their eyes locked in a gaze that was far too intimate for a business relationship. My heart slammed against my ribs, a painful, sickening thud. I felt the blood drain from my face, my legs turning to lead. I stood there, frozen, watching them. A wave of nausea washed over me, and I stumbled back blindly out of the hotel and into the pouring rain. I didn't confront them, didn't scream, didn't even cry. I just walked aimlessly through the streets of Seattle, the rain washing away the tears I couldn't shed. I finally made it home, numb, hollowed out. I sat in the dark living room for hours, replaying the scene in my head, trying to make sense of it. How could she? Why would she? What had I done wrong? Meredith came home late, her face flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. She saw me sitting in the dark and feigned surprise. "Anselm, what are you doing up so late?" she asked, her voice a little too bright, a little too cheerful. I stood up, my voice barely a whisper. "I saw you, Meredith, at the hotel." Her face paled. The forced cheerfulness vanished, replaced by a look of fear, then defiance. "Anselm, I can explain," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Explain what?" "Explain how you're betraying me. Explain how you're lying to me. Explain how you're destroying everything we've built," I shouted, my voice cracking with pain and anger. She tried to deny it at first, to minimize it, to make it seem like nothing. But I had seen it with my own eyes. I knew the truth. Finally, she broke down, confessing everything. His name was Quentin, a younger colleague from her office. It had been going on for months. She claimed she was unhappy, that I was too focused on work, that she needed excitement, passion. Her words were like knives twisting in my gut. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to break something. But I just stood there, silent, letting her words wash over me, each one a fresh wave of pain. That night I didn't sleep. I sat up, staring out the window at the rain-soaked city, my mind racing, my heart aching. I thought about our life together, the good times, the bad times, the promises we had made. All of it now seemed like a lie, a cruel illusion. The next morning I told her I wanted a divorce. She begged me to reconsider, to forgive her, to give her another chance. But I couldn't. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. I couldn't look at her without seeing the image of her in that man's arms, without feeling the burning sting of betrayal. I moved out a week later, taking only what I needed. I couldn't bear to stay in that house, surrounded by the memories of our life together, the life that was now irrevocably tainted. I rented a small apartment downtown, a sterile, impersonal space that felt like a reflection of my own emptiness. The divorce was messy, acrimonious. Meredith fought me on everything, trying to get as much as she could. She claimed I was being unreasonable, that I was punishing her too harshly. But I was determined to protect myself, to salvage what I could from the wreckage of our marriage. During the divorce proceedings, I learned more about Quentin. He was a smooth-talking, ambitious young man who had a reputation for sleeping his way to the top. He had been with several women in the office, using them to advance his career. Meredith was just another conquest, another rung on his ladder. The realization filled me with a cold, burning rage. I wasn't just hurt, I was humiliated, used. I had been a fool, blind to the truth, trusting someone who was utterly unworthy of my trust. As the divorce dragged on, I sank into a deep depression. I lost weight, couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate on work. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of despair with no hope of rescue. My best friend Valerian saw how much I was suffering and tried to help. He took me out, forced me to socialize, encouraged me to seek therapy. He reminded me of my strengths, my worth, my potential for happiness. "You can't let her destroy you, Anselm," he said one night over beers at a local pub. "You're a good man, a talented man. You deserve better. You need to move on to rebuild your life." Valerian's words resonated with me. I knew he was right. I couldn't let Meredith's betrayal define me. I had to find a way to heal, to move forward, to reclaim my life. I started seeing a therapist, a kind, insightful woman who helped me process my emotions, understand my patterns, and develop coping mechanisms. She taught me how to forgive myself for being blind, for trusting the wrong person. She helped me see that Meredith's actions were a reflection of her own character, not a reflection of my worth. Slowly, gradually, I began to heal. I started taking better care of myself, exercising, eating healthy, pursuing hobbies I had neglected for years. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and started to rebuild my social life. I also started to focus on my career. I threw myself into my work, taking on new challenges, learning new skills, and pushing myself to excel. I discovered a renewed sense of purpose, a passion for my craft that had been dormant for too long. As I began to heal, I also began to feel a sense of anger, a desire for justice. I couldn't let Meredith and Quentin get away with what they had done. They had caused me immense pain, and they deserved to face the consequences of their actions. I started to investigate Quentin. I used my IT skills to dig into his online presence, his social media accounts, his professional history. I discovered a pattern of unethical behavior, of using and manipulating people for his own gain. I also discovered that he was married. His wife, a kind, unassuming woman named Guinevere, was completely unaware of his affair with Meredith. The thought of Guinevere suffering the same pain I had endured filled me with a sense of righteous indignation. I decided to expose Quentin. I gathered all the evidence I had, the emails, the photos, the social media posts, and compiled it into a detailed report. I sent the report to Quentin's wife, Guinevere, anonymously, along with a heartfelt letter expressing my sympathy and offering my support. I didn't hear anything for weeks. I wondered if Guinevere had received the report, if she believed it, if she was going to confront Quentin. Then one day I received an email from her. "Dear Anselm," she wrote, "I received your report. Thank you for opening my eyes. I had no idea what my husband was capable of. I have confronted him and he has admitted everything. I am filing for divorce. I don't know how to thank you for your courage and your kindness." Guinevere's email brought me a sense of closure, a sense of justice. I had helped her escape a toxic relationship just as I had escaped mine, but my revenge wasn't complete. I still had Meredith to deal with. I knew that she was struggling financially. The real estate market had cooled down and she was having trouble making sales. She had also lost several clients because of the scandal surrounding our divorce. I decided to use my knowledge of her finances to my advantage. During our marriage, I had helped her manage her investments. I knew that she had made several risky investments that were on the verge of collapse. I also knew that she was heavily in debt. I contacted her creditors anonymously and informed them of her financial situation. I also contacted the regulatory agencies that oversaw her real estate license and filed complaints about her unethical business practices. The consequences were swift and devastating. Meredith's creditors began demanding immediate payment. Her risky investments collapsed, wiping out her savings. The regulatory agencies launched investigations into her business practices, threatening to revoke her license. Meredith's life began to unravel. She lost her house, her car, her friends, and her reputation. She was forced to declare bankruptcy and move into a small, run-down apartment. One day she called me, begging for help. She claimed she was destitute, that she had nowhere to turn. She asked me to forgive her, to give her another chance. I listened to her pleas, my heart unmoved. I felt no sympathy, no compassion. She had made her choices and she had to live with the consequences. "I'm sorry, Meredith," I said, my voice cold and detached. "I can't help you. You destroyed our marriage and you destroyed your own life. You have to live with the consequences of your actions." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of satisfaction, a sense of closure. I had exacted my revenge. I had made her pay for the pain she had caused me. But as the years passed, the satisfaction faded, replaced by a sense of emptiness. I realized that revenge hadn't brought me the happiness I had hoped for. It had only consumed me, turning me into someone I didn't recognize. I began to question my actions. Had I gone too far? Had I become as ruthless and vindictive as Meredith? Had I sacrificed my own integrity in the pursuit of revenge? I realized that I had. I had allowed Meredith's betrayal to define me, to poison my soul. I had become obsessed with revenge, losing sight of my own values, my own humanity. I decided to change. I started to focus on forgiveness, on letting go of the past, on building a better future. I reached out to Meredith, not to reconcile, but to offer her my forgiveness. She was surprised but grateful. She apologized for her actions, acknowledging the pain she had caused me. I also reached out to Quentin's wife, Guinevere, and offered her my friendship. We became close, supporting each other through the challenges of divorce and rebuilding our lives. I learned that forgiveness wasn't about condoning Meredith's actions, but about freeing myself from the burden of anger and resentment. It was about reclaiming my own peace of mind, my own happiness. I eventually found love again with a kind, compassionate woman named Jessamy. She was everything Meredith wasn't: honest, loyal, and supportive. She helped me heal the remaining wounds from my past and embrace a new future filled with love and hope. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience. Revenge may feel good in the moment, but it ultimately destroys the person who seeks it. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is a path to healing, to peace, and to a brighter future. I'm now happily married to Jessamy, living a fulfilling life filled with love, laughter, and purpose. I've left the past behind, embracing the present and looking forward to the future. I've learned that betrayal can be a devastating experience, but it doesn't have to define you. You can choose to heal, to forgive, and to create a new life filled with happiness and meaning. And that, my friend, is the greatest revenge of all.